How are enterprises planning for distributed cloud? What are some of the factors impacting their decisions? And how should they start thinking about unlocking the value of their data that's been created in a distributed environment and doing it in a way that's cost effective? Joining us next for this conversation are Jay Chitnis, the VP of Global Alliances and Business Development with Protegrity, Nandakumar Sivaraman, Practice Head of Data and Insights with Emtec, and Vinay Mathur, the Chief Strategy Officer with Next Pathway. This roundtable is hosted by Yellowbrick's VP of Business Development, Alan Holmes. Alan, over to you.
Thanks, Jeff, and welcome everybody to the Partner Roundtable. I'm excited to announce today's panel. First, I'd like to introduce Nanda from Emtec. Nanda, can you share a few words?
Okay, thanks, Alan. I'm Nanda. I head the data and insights practice within Emtec. And for the last 5+ years, we are into the horizon of both hybrid, distributed, and all those things. And we are a wonderful partnership with Yellowbrick for the last 1.5 years. And we are looking forward for this one. Thanks, Alan.
Great. Hey, thanks, Nanda. Thanks for joining us from around the globe. Jay, over to you.
Hey, Alan, thanks. So I'm Jay Chitnis. I run our all the partnerships here at Protegrity. So for those of you who don't know, Protegrity is a data security and AI company, and we've been partnering with Yellowbrick on quite a few engagements, and I'm excited to be here. So Alan, thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you. Thanks, Jay. Vinay, over to you.
Thanks, Alan. I'm Vinay Mathur. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Next Pathway, and all we do at Next Pathway is focus on automating migrations to cloud and hybrid cloud environments. So we partner very closely with the folks at Yellowbrick on making the customer journey from their legacy applications over to Yellowbrick a lot more seamless. Looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah, great. Hey, thanks, Vinay. Thanks for joining. So today's topics, I really want to explore what's going on with IT today and talk a little bit about the distributed cloud. Many folks have probably seen a number of sessions from Yellowbrick already. And after this, you'll see some technical content that I think you guys will find very, very interesting. But first, let me kick off with some recent survey results and get an idea on how enterprises are preparing for the post-COVID environment. So 84 respondents from our survey have increased or equal their pre-COVID IT budgets. So clearly, I think companies are starting to understand the value of IT and getting access to their data. 76% are investing more in analytics, and 51% still see security as a pain point. So guys, what are you hearing from customers, and what are their immediate priorities? So let me start with you, Nanda.
Absolutely. I think analytics is in the core piece of attraction, because we come across customers who is looking forward for a lot of data within their ecosystem, but they don't know what to do with the data. That's where the data visibility comes into picture. So we strongly believe that, okay, those kind of customers who has been bringing the lot of importance of the data, the decision making is always behind how effectively they can actually represent the data to their stakeholders. It can be based on analytics, it can be based on artificial intelligence, cognitive services and all. And surely a combination of hybrid and cloud really play an important role there. That's what we see with our existing customers right now.
Excellent, excellent. Jay, over to you.
Yeah, it's interesting, Alan. So, we kind of play at this intersection of cloud with analytics, and then obviously I kind of mentioned security. So our belief is really that data is where the security layer needs to be. So what we do is we protect data, whether it's in motion, at rest, or in use. And so this notion of security being a pain point is kind of an interesting one, because we've always heard that, right? We've always heard that security is a pain point. But a lot of times, to what Nanda just said, it's really unlocking and unleashing the value of that data, so you can go and run some interesting new models, develop new ways of getting at revenue streams that you probably weren't able to do because you weren't able to leverage that data. And so what we're seeing is, this triangulation of IT budgets, kind of coming back, if you will, analytics investment, significant investment from the analytics side, and really heading it up on leveraging, not thinking of security as, God, I gotta do this, to how do I take that and being able to monetize that in some new way. That's what we're seeing. That's what we're hearing from customers.
No, fantastic. I think that makes a lot of sense, Jay. I think security always, it's about risk mitigation. So I think at that point, it's really an opportunity for Protegrity and Yellowbrick and frankly, others to really bring that to as a solution. So over to migration. So what's next pathway here? And migration has always been a pain point. So I'd love to get your view.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. No, absolutely. And when you talk about risk mitigation and Jay, when you talk about security, these are big questions that get asked right at the beginning from our customers. And so where we see customers asking questions in terms of what their current focus is and first priority is in a migration context is looking at an end-to-end solution. So what does that end-to-end roadmap from their legacy application over to hybrid cloud and cloud environments look like? And so the most important thing about that is risk mitigation. No one wants to start a migration project until they know exactly how they're going to approach a problem and make sure their business isn't impacted. So we take a holistic look at the entire journey from planning to the actual workload migration and then over to cutover. And where we see right now a lot of customers asking a lot of questions is on that planning side. And so where do they start? What workloads are best suited for a cloud or hybrid cloud environment? And what's the low-hanging fruit in terms of where they can go and start and prioritize their efforts on? So that's where we see a lot of customers prioritizing, especially when you look at a distributed cloud architecture, which is quite exciting.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Vinay. And that's a great lead-in, I think, as we kind of transition and start talking about distributed cloud. I want to share some survey results we have around the cloud. And this is, I don't think, a big surprise, but I think it just validates why we think distributed cloud is going to be an important strategic initiative for enterprises going forward. 86% respondents view hybrid cloud as critical to running their business. I think enterprises betting 100% on public cloud and moving data and not only the cost of doing that, but just the risk of moving really has either slowed down adoption and or is a strategic initiative that really warrants a lot of investigation. 63% are running multiple data warehouses. So they've got not only data in potentially silos, and I know, Nanda, you can talk to that, but just spread out across the company using different technologies. And we think there's a better way to solve that. And then finally, customers are starting to look at the edge as a deployment model. Whether they're currently in on-premises or private cloud or public cloud, moving to the edge is really creating an opportunity for putting analytics and data warehousing out where the data is being created. So when we think about hybrid cloud and the challenges, there's really managing multiple technologies, user experiences across private and public clouds. There's different identity and access management approaches that really impacts deployment and security. And provisioning resources is different, whether you're on premises or private and public, which means you got to have different types of capabilities, skills, and frankly, people to really manage that, what is becoming a very environment. At Yellowbrick, we have announced a different approach, and this is really the data warehouse built for the distributed cloud. And the whole point of that is not only giving our customers options on where they want to deploy, not only their data warehouse or where data is being created in analytics, it's providing a unified control plane that allows you to manage those resources in those different physical locations across the enterprise. So the goal is really simplification for data access, providing common security policies, minimizing data movement, and delivering a data warehouse anywhere and analytics everywhere. So guys, what's your take on distributed cloud, and do you have any use cases that come to mind? And I'll start with you, Vinay.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. No, absolutely, and we see our customers asking for a similar architecture to distributed cloud all the time. And so in a migration context, we never see, even though industry tries to put this in our heads, and I hate this cliche of lift and shift, but you never see those types of migrations really taking shape. When the customer is moving off a legacy application over to a modern platform, hybrid platform like a Yellowbrick, they're often doing what we call a lift and fix. They want to optimize their application and their workload to best take advantage of the new architecture in Yellowbrick or modern Target. So one use case we see a lot in financial services specifically is around data lakes. And so we see, and this is a real case, we see customers asking a lot of times, how can they create a logical architecture where they may have different physical instances of either an on-prem cluster and then a new environment, either in hybrid cloud or in a cloud environment, but how do they stitch it together? How do they link it such that it's centrally managed? Data might be in a couple of different places, but they want to manage analytics, they want to manage security, all centrally. So that's where we see a huge use case for it, and we're working on a couple of those cases right now.
I love that lift and fix moniker. I think that that really articulates well. So Jay, pick up on that theme. Where does security fit in, and how do you guys see distributed cloud providing an opportunity for Protegrity?
Yeah, actually, so I want to pick up on something that I think Vinay said that was interesting. It's this notion of being able to just, quickly, easily move things. It's not a trivial matter. And oh, by the way, there is no such thing, at least from what we've seen, as any customer that says, we are all in and only all in on public cloud or only all in on on-prem. It's not a question of are we going to do public, or it's not a question of if there's going to be some data that's going to maybe sit on-prem. The thing that most people are realizing, and by the way, roughly, I read a report that roughly an average customer has 2.8 clouds. So what does that tell me? What that tells us is that data mobility and data portability is really critical. And so one of the things that we believe is that when you secure the data, you shouldn't have to think about, well, wait a minute, did I use a specific tool to secure it on my on-prem, and is that different? Is the data now somehow not protected when I move it into a public cloud or into a hybrid format? Really think that data should be protected once, and then the protection scheme associated with that data should follow it. And that's what we really believe. That's what Protegrity is all about.
No, that's great. Thanks, Jay. So with that, Nanda, I know you have a broader perspective, in the consulting world. Maybe share your views on distributed cloud, and I know you guys are pretty excited about it. So anxious to hear
Absolutely.
your words.
I think it's a very interesting one, right? Because I completely agree with Jay and Vinay. The reason is that if you ask the Emtec portfolio, in a sense, that what we come across is the customers who have invested a lot in the last maybe decades. And none of the customer would like to actually bring some magic on the day one, right? Because they would like us to respect the investments and see that, okay, where it is going to. And see that, okay, hey, how can they adapt to the latest technologies, whether it is cloud, AI, cognitive services, and all. That's the importance of hybrid cloud comes into picture, because we come across a lot of customers where they have been in the ecosystem of on-premises for more than 10 years. Now they have the humongous amount of data, whether it is ERP, whether it is CRM and all. Now there's an opportunity for them to understand, okay, hey, what significance data can bring back? It's like, okay, data visibility, so decision-making process, security, can they partner with other ecosystems, so the business benefits, profit analysis, a lot. From that perspective, I believe that hybrid data warehouse and hybrid cloud is extremely significant, because at least, to be honest, maybe out of 10 customers, what we are coming back in the last 6 months, or maybe in the COVID situation exactly, is that maybe 8 customers already talking about the maturity of hybrid cloud. Okay, can we bring a data lake concept? But same time, when we bring that data lake, can we secure the data? Because that's where we're talking about. When we secure the data, can we effectively migrate the data from one ecosystem to the second ecosystem, so that it is a centralized portion and all? So that's what distributed cloud is, completely a different landscape for now as customers, because as Vinay and mentioned, the fintech it seems like fintech is one of the real icing on the cake. The reason behind is that they are talking about data, they're talking about streams, they're talking about security, they're talking about diversified platforms with respect to fraud detection and all. So there is an opportunity for us to think through how can we help them, because we come across maybe 2 to 3 fintech customers in the last 1 year, where we brought in the data lake solution for them, leveraging multiple data practices, design patterns, and all those things. Some of the few examples is the data lineage. when you want to attain some kind of maturity with respect to data, first thing is that people are talking about, okay, how much secured my data is, because now my data is going to talk a lot of stories back to my customers. I don't want to say all the stories to all the customers in a single language. It should be defined for a specific customer. Can I secure my data? So then that's where the bringing more attention towards the security. What kind of security? Because we talk about the row level security, we talk about the data attribute level security, we talk about the infrastructure level security, or even talk about the migration security, right? When you migrate the data from one to this thing, I need to make sure that is in a single cluster, or it is not beyond some packaging model. It is completely secure so that I can have the better control of the data. So seems like distributed cloud is moving in a very fast-paced environment. But especially one thing that I would like to note here is that it's not simple ecosystem. It's a combination of multiple things. That's where we bring along the maturity of the data. Okay, can we store the data at the hot and cold data? Can we bring the meaning to the data by adding more flavors like artificial intelligence? For example, fintech, the fraud detection, the customer sentiments, the customer 360-degree program. For all this purpose, we need the entire data within the ecosystems. So we believe that the importance of data distribution is going fast and fast. And I'm pretty sure with the data gravity in mind, it will surely come into the next stage.
Yeah, no, I think that kind of, Nanda, I think that really not only highlights the opportunity, but I like to go back to what Vinay said around lift and fix. It does, going in and respecting the investment, starting to think about how you can modernize, how you can augment what's already in place, and start to bring those insights and really the governance around, not only from a security point of view, but from a data management point of view. So that's great, guys. I just want to kind of start to approach closing time here and really articulate that from a distributed cloud point of view, it really is a partner ecosystem. And collaboration, from my point of view, is really at the heart of this initiative that we're driving. And in the coming months, working with partners like Protegrity and Emtec and Next Pathway and many, many others, it's really about starting to build reference architectures and thinking about end-to-end solutions and customer references that really understand and want to take this vision forward, because the technology is catching up. I think there's a lot more insight, a lot more understanding about the value of data, how analytics being placed where the data is being created, the whole data gravity message that is real. And our initiative is really about simplifying the data modernization. We want to increase the deployment models, right? We want to put it, private, public, at the edge. That's a critical piece of this, and stitching it all together by reducing, the security and the migration risks that are always top of mind, and ultimately providing a single pane of glass for resource management and security. I think that starts to really simplify the deployment model and should reduce the anxiety about making a modernization move, and really, I think, start to share and demonstrate the benefits, both from a business point of view and a simplification point of view. So guys, with that, any final comments that you have that you could share with the audience around distributed cloud and what you guys are thinking? Just kind of quick comments. What do you say? I'll throw it over to you, Nanda.
I would say that the unified data set modeling, that's what exactly. So as you mentioned, with the edge coming into picture, where we have an opportunity to actually talk about the data. And that's what exactly this partnership and these partners like Protegrity, which are actually getting into security with respect to the migration, and we, Emtec, we actually get into services. One underlying statement in is that if we can build a unified data set modeling across the entire data ecosystem, that will go a long way forward.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Jay?
Yeah, I think, Alan, what you're touching on is something that's critical, right? And that in the sense of so I'll use the analogy, it takes a village, right? And it's not gonna be something that we can do independently, right? So it's going to take the visibility into understanding what data sits there. Where does it sit? Is it sensitive data? It's really understanding and then being able to, as I think Vinay was saying, the critical aspect is not necessarily the technology per se. It's about the people and the process implications. And so really culling through that, but being able to do so in a confident manner where you're not compromising individuals' identities, right? And we want to do this in an ethical way. Our responsibility, I think the challenge for us is really all about enabling new things to line of business individuals, right? Like, so usually we're our IT departments and stuff, security groups, for example, are used to saying, no, you can't do that. Well, now I think this is kind of flipping it on its head, and we're saying you can do it. We can do it in an ethical manner. We can do it where we can share that data without compromising individuals' identity. We can do it by enabling new revenue streams for line of business individuals that they hadn't really even considered before. So I think it's got to be a holistic view, Alan. Just being able to not only get visibility into the data, protecting the data, making sure that data can be portable, and that the security associated with it follows it. And then you can go and optimize, right? So I appreciate the sort of view that you guys have, that Yellowbrick has around distributed cloud, but also bringing an ecosystem of partners to go and help enable that. I think that's going to be critical over the next few years.
Great, thank you so much, Jay and Vinay.
No, thanks, Alan. And listen, pulling off of what Jay said again, and I think what you started with, Alan, is that holistic mindset, I think, is the most important thing. And so if you're a customer that's looking at migrating to a distributed cloud type of architecture, look at the holistic environment you have. Look at your footprint. Don't look at anything in isolation. It's all going to fit together. So when you look at a migration context, understand how data is flowing into your application today. See what's actually needed to be migrated, and what can actually stay on the current ecosystem, to Nanda's point earlier. Look at your actual core warehouse. Look at the tables. Look at the data sets. Determine what data sets are best actually suited to move to a different architecture, like a Yellowbrick, for example, where you may have more advanced analytic use cases that need more higher performance. And then look at the security side as well. What's your security propagation strategy? How is your data going to be secure at rest and in transit? And then look at your downstream consumers. Look at your applications that are actually consuming data. Look at your BI tools, your analytics tools, and understand exactly what the impact may be to them and how you can give them the best user experience in terms of both performance, security, and access to that data. So that holistic mindset is extremely important when you're beginning to plan for a migration to that distributed cloud architecture.
Thanks, Vinay. Guys, fantastic. I really appreciate sharing your opinions and supporting us. Nanda, thank you for calling in from around the globe, and Jay and Vinay, always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for the audience for joining us and attending. And at this point, we're going to end the session. I'm going to send it back over to you, Jeff. Thanks.